Today, we will talk about biblical blessings and curses. Okay, so let's read God's blessing to the Israelites in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 through 14. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall thy basket in thy store. Blessed shall thy be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command a blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee. If thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways, and all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plentiful in goods, and in fruit of thy body, and in fruit of thy cattle, and in fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure in the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in the season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. And thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, or go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Verses 16 through 68 is an example of the biblical curses that could happen for not being obedient to God. Now, the curses are so egregious that I have chosen not to read them, and I don't recommend anyone say them out loud, just because curses tend to, um, how can I say this? They tend to turn back on you if you have like a lot of sin in your life. Um, and some things you need to clear up spiritually. So I don't advise anyone to speak these out loud. Okay, so now we'll go to talk about God's protection. What God has blessed, no man can curse. In Genesis 12, verse 3, God's favor and protection of Abraham. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So, this is an example of how curses can kind of backfire on you. Um, especially if God's protection is upon a person. Okay, so Abraham had wealth, but his blessing was more valuable than wealth. Money and wealth cannot provide the same blessing and prosperity that God gives. Okay, now let's talk about a righteous man named Job that lost everything. In Job chapter 21, verse 1, it says, And Job said, Naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So Job lost everything, and he still blessed God, and he regained everything back that was lost to him. Um, if you read this whole chapter or book of Job, you'll see that a lot of people told Job that he should just curse God and die. But Job refused. he he did not curse God and die. He actually blessed God after he lost everything. And he had a beautiful end of his story, and he got everything back that was stolen from him. Okay, Proverbs 24 and verses 15 through 16. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up, but the wicked shall fall to mischief. So basically, this verse is talking about a righteous man can fall several times, but every time he falls, he picks himself back up, and the wicked Um, yeah, they just continue to fall into mischief. So, to put it simply, this verse is saying that a righteous man is blessed. Okay, next we'll talk about the first blessed, the first blessing to man, the first cursed animal, and the first cursed man in the Bible. Okay, in Genesis 1, verse 28, and God blessed Adam and Eve. And God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So basically, God is blessing the first couple on the earth, which is Adam and Eve, and God is giving them dominion over everything in the earth. The first cursed animal in the Garden of Eden in Genesis chapter 3, verse 14. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Okay, the first man that was cursed. In Genesis chapter 4, 11 through 13. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Now we'll talk about curses for certain types of sins. The first is the curse of laziness. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 10 through 11. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. Imagine that. Okay, the curse of addiction. In Proverbs chapter 23, verse 21, it says, For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Now we'll talk about generational curses in the Bible. These are curses that affect families, groups, cultures, or communities because of non productive teaching that are self destructive to their lives. The teachings are passed down from generation to generation in their traditions, habits, music, and the way of life that keep them in poverty, prisons, or mental decline because of destructive consequences. In the Exodus chapter 34, verses 6 through 9, and the Lord passed by before Moses and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgressions and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and to the fourth generation. And Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. And he said, If now I find favor and grace in thy sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray thee, go among us, for it is stiff necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. So basically, God is not pleased with the people because I think this is the chapter where they probably were worshiping a bull or a golden calf or something. And Moses is pleading for their lives. And it's talking about how God holds them guilty throughout the generations of their children and their children's children. And this basically happens from the teaching and the legacy that's handed down. So it's just sort of like consequences, basically, for their, choices. Okay, in the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6, it reads, My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. So basically, when the parents decide not to obey God, not to obey the laws, and when the parents walk away from God, it basically affects their children. That's as simple as that. So that's how generational curses work. The choices that the parents make affect the children and possibly generations later. However, on the flip side, uh, blessings and good choices by parents can also be passed down from generation to generation. Um, Sometimes the parents make good decisions and they're blessed, and then the children are blessed, and the children's, they learn the same obedience, and blessings can also be handed down through the generations. Thank you for watching Biblical Blessings and Curses.